Sup YouTube, welcome to the Golden Teacher channel. It's been a long time since I've posted. I've went through several life transitions, from going through a breakup after 10 years of experience with this person, to moving back in with my parents, transitioning to living in Vegas, which is where I am now, moving out on my own, and working a job out here, getting promoted several times, only to be fired due to a company restructuring, being unemployed for a stretch of time, and, meeting someone out here you know, whom I love dearly, and we're in a relationship now, and our values and perspectives are aligned, so we're doing well together, and now I have more stability, with my new job, and just my newfound, how can I say this, my newfound self, just after kind of like sloughing off that past skin and coming more into my own. I have a more clear perspective on myself in my life. I'm sorry, I have a cat and it just did something hilarious. He tried to jump onto a table and he clawed onto some paper and slipped off the table. He's okay, but that was hilarious. Anyways, yeah. So, I went through several life transitions, and now I'm just back doing my thing, digging into myself, and just going deeper into myself, focusing on my developing more integrity, integrating myself. So, what I want to talk about is the concept of embodiment and what that experience has been like for me. So, embodiment, as the name sort of implies, it's about being rooted in your body. And I feel, or so it seems to me, that a lot of people sort of miss the deeper revelations that can come to one when one is rooted in their body. When people talk embodiment, it's often thought of, just being in tune with your body and being able to move it and feel it, and strengthening your mind and muscle connection, developing your spatial awareness, spatial and situational awareness, and things like that. But in my opinion, that seems to only scratch the surface of what embodiment really means, or what it can potentially reveal. So, embodiment. So, I'm going to talk about my journey towards becoming more embodied. And the way that I did that was through meditation. So, this is my own personal anecdotal experience, so I know that the things that I share very well may not apply to everyone, and I mean, it very well won't, because there is variability in the human experience. There's just as many bodies and minds and neurological configurations as there are people. So, for sure, this will not apply to everyone, but I want to share this just because I'm interested in knowing what other people's experiences have been like, and just to talk to more people about this, because I don't really have anyone to talk to about this stuff. Because I had a pretty profound experience through meditating that I've been marinating on since it's happened, and this was a couple years ago. So here's the context. I was house sitting for a friend. Well, they were a friend at the time. He was going to camp with his wife, so I agreed to house sit for him, watch his house, and take care of his dogs. So what I did was I took a few books over there, because I was planning on just reading and, trying not to mindlessly scroll on the web and just kind of really get in tune with myself. So one night, I decided, tonight I'm not going to read. I'm going to meditate. Mind you, at this point in my life, I had been consistently meditating for hours a day. So at the time, I was, how can I say, I was pretty well trained in that practice. So when I would sit and meditate, like say if an itch arose, rather than scratch it, I would allow the sensation to arise and pass, or just become a part of my total experience of myself in that time. So this night, I decided I was going to smoke a little marijuana. I don't smoke anymore, but in the past, I used to sometimes smoke and meditate because I feel like the marijuana would sometimes help me go deeper. And I mean, it could be argued that perhaps that was kind of, I don't know, distorting my perception in a way. However, this experience was a real experience that I had, and it was trippy, to say the least. Okay, so what happened was, so I sat down after smoking, right? So I sat down comfortably, and I started off focusing on my breath and the sensations of breathing. And what I did was I was doing things like I was practicing different techniques to kind of take me into meditation. So I was like closing my eyes and, like gazing into my visual field and opening my eyes and closing them and seeing that my visual field was still there, and then just kind of feeling the sensations of sitting down and, the sensations of like my head and my face, and feeling my heartbeat in my chest and hearing it in my ears and feeling my circulation and everything just happening. And while I was meditating, like there was a clock on the wall, like somewhere in front of me. So what I was doing was I was kind of paying attention to the time because I was like trying to get an idea of how long I was sitting. So for the first hour of my meditation, I was very focused. And I feel like that was kind of blocking me from going deeper because I was meditating with a goal in mind. Like I was trying to get somewhere. And, it is like that can become a block to just kind of dissolving into your embodied experience. So after the first hour, I noticed that, my body started to go to sleep, and like I would feel like, different weird sensations in my body that would make me want to move, but I would just sit still because, again, at this point, I had a great capacity for just sitting still after meditating for hours and hours on end. So I was just sitting there, and I would feel like my foot, like because like my legs are crossed, so like I would feel like my leg and foot going to sleep. That sensation when like your nerves are pinching and then you just get that like weird tingly sensation. Like I was getting all of that, and I was getting the urge to move, but I was just kind of witnessing that and just allowing it to become a part of the totality of my experience. I just accepted it. I just invited it. And what I did was, like, while I was meditating, I kind of shifted my eyes over to the clock, and I noticed by the second hour of not moving at all, I started to become very comfortable, and I started to feel really good and really light, and I stopped focusing so hard on trying to get somewhere, and I was just kind of basking in the experience of existing. And then something interesting happened. And this isn't the biggest thing that happened in this experience. This was just something that I noticed that was interesting. So while I was meditating, there were several thoughts kind of just coming into my consciousness and just going away and coming up and going away and coming up. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but a very, very uncomfortable thought arose in my mind, and it started to make me uncomfortable. And I noticed that, like, I started to get, like, the feeling of anxiety, and it was like as though I felt it go from, like, my mind and come down into my gut. And it felt as though, like, the feeling of butterflies in your stomach. It felt like my stomach was just fluttering and fluttering and fluttering, and I had to resist the urge to move. I just noticed the inner resistance, and I just noticed the feeling itself, and I just watched it. I just watched the thought, and I watched the feeling. And in time, what I noticed was that this feeling, it was as though, like, it felt like in my stomach, it felt like something kind of started to shift around in my gut, and then it kind of felt like it went up this way, and it just disappeared. And I just became even more comfortable. So it was like, in a way that was kind of symbolic, as though I fully digested the thought. I fully processed it, and it no longer bothered me. So that was really interesting because that gave me a more clear understanding of what it means to process something. Sometimes it's not always just about searching for an answer. Sometimes it's just about looking at the experience, the feeling, the thought, and just becoming comfortable with looking at it, not straight like trying to hide from it, but just watching it and allowing your body to just remain calm. And it kind of takes the power away from it, and just in that, it just dissolves on its own, and there's nothing more that needs to be done. So that was a profound learning experience. So after that happened, I just continued to just meditate and just breathe, and just at this point I was able to sort of unfocus rather than just kind of doing different techniques to try to go deeper and get somewhere. I just sort of just allowed myself to be. And it was interesting because what I noticed was just in feeling the sensations in my body and hearing the sounds, like the refrigerator just going grrr, like the little, like motor or whatever it is in there, just making that vibration. It was like I was able to sort of like hear the gaps in between the pats, and it was almost as though things slowed down, like not really, but it was just, I can't explain it really, but it was like I was able to just hear the sound with such granular, just clarity, just every sensation that just sort of poked into my consciousness. I was just kind of able to see it and just see it all and hear it all blending together at once. And what I noticed was I kind of shifted my eyes over to the clock slowly. And I noticed that right before the third hour hit, this weird perceptual distortion just started to occur. So, like, underneath my field of vision, I can see my hands and I can see my legs. And it was weird because all of a sudden it seemed as though they started to go downward, and it like as though they were kind of shrinking. And at the same time, simultaneously, it was as though my eyes were coming up. So it was like, it felt as though I was spreading apart. And it was weird because, like, it felt as though my eyes almost shifted and was just looking down, like very far down at myself. And it felt like my consciousness was actually kind of like situated like beyond my body. And I'm kind of just observing this body from some place that felt as though it were outside of my body. And while it was happening, I was just astounded, and I was trying so hard not to give into the awe, because I felt as though like that would shake me out of my meditation. Like I wanted to remain unfocused and stay in that centered place. But after some time, it was just like, whoa, my body is sleep. I feel it sleep. my mind at this point had settled. There weren't really any thoughts fluttering through my mind. And here my consciousness is just sort of observing this thing that doesn't even seem to be me. And I'm just watching it. And I tried so hard to fight it, but out of nowhere, my mind snaps into place and is like, whoa, what the hell is going on? And at that moment, when that happened, it shook me out of my meditation. It took me completely out of that place, and it felt as though my frame of reference or my consciousness just sort of went back to like the regular, normal frame. And that was a very profound experience. It's like I don't know what to make of it. It's I just again, I'm still trying to integrate this experience. Like I feel like I wouldn't say it was an enlightening experience. I don't profess to be enlightened. I don't feel like I had a Kundalini awakening or an awakening of any sort. I just feel as though this tapped me into an aspect of myself that was not ever obvious to me or that I was never aware of previously. And it was absolutely astonishing. And from that point forward, it was weird because I had before this, I had more of an external there was more of an external locus of control, like in the sense that I was very focused on my physical appearance and so focused on social status, so focused on trying to keep up appearances and things like that. But ever since that happened, it feels as though like my energies have sort of gone it's like my orientation became more internal. And this is not to say that I'm no longer, let's say, aware of my external appearance and my social life, because this is an important part of us. This is an important part of the human experience. Our social dimension is integral to what it means to be human. So, of course, to this day, I still recognize that fact and I work on my social standing and my relationships and things like that. However, I just feel like that strong hold that the outside world had on me has kind of softened. And now I just feel a little more balanced. And what's interesting is, up to that point, I feel like I had been caught in such a pattern of behavior and being in all, just the same places and around the same people. And I started to take it all for granted, but this profound experience kind of helped to shake me out of that functional fixedness, like the effects of habituation, just taking things for granted and thinking oh, this is just the same old person, this is the same old house, this is the same old this and that. And it kind of opened me up to the mystery of not only myself, but just of the world around me. And I have a whole new appreciation for life and existence. And it's like I just love just closing my eyes and just feeling the sensations of just all of the interacting just energies and just just everything, like the physics, and my biological processes and their interfacing and all of these different energies even outside of my body and in the universe. And it's just shown me that I'm just so much more and so much bigger, that we're all so much bigger than we can see. And it was just absolutely amazing. And again, I share this experience not to make it sound as though I'm some kind of mystic or I'm on some higher level or anything like that. I just wanted to share this experience because I don't have anyone to talk to about these things. So it is my hope that perhaps some of you would be interested in like talking about your experiences, and maybe we can like, I don't know, talk more about these things and kind of process these things together and talk about what they mean for us as individuals and just as a collective, because that would just be amazing to me. So yeah, thank you for tuning in and just listening to this. And yeah, please shoot me, like a comment or something, a message, or you know, just something, because it would be really interesting to hear about what other people's experiences are with like really grounding themselves in themselves. So yeah, thanks again for tuning in to the Golden Teacher channel, and till next time.